When he purchased the Barons in 1909, immediately went to work building this ballpark and traveled up north to study for the ballparks that have been built in the big leagues up there. Learned from Connie Mack. Came down here with the lessons he had taken from Connie. And he actually had an engineering degree from MIT. So he said, I'm going to have this thing built with my own design. And it set the stage for what is an historic place here as the Giants and the Cardinals get ready to face off. And the Giants, wearing the 1946 San Francisco Sea Lions uniforms, come to the plate with this starting lineup, sponsored by Harbor Freight. They've dealt with all kinds of injuries this year. One of the silver linings to that is these guys at the top have gotten a chance and been their best hitters, and Brett Wisely and Elliot Ramos. Patrick Bailey, one of the top young catchers in the game, bats third. And it's Matt Chapman at third base. Michael Conforto's in left field. Jorge Soler's looked more like himself lately. Hit a grand slam yesterday with Wilmer Flores at first. Mike Yastrzemski's in right field, and Nick Ahmed, back from injury, his first week back, is at short hitting ninth. On the mound for the Cardinals, this is Andre Pallante, who's gotten a chance with Steven Matz getting hurt.
Yeah, trying to build up his innings, and I think for both pitchers who have struggled a little bit, they would have loved to have pitched in this original ballpark, which we'll document later. But the fences were gigantic. Obviously, this is more traditional baseball, so the fencing and the dimensions are going to be Americanized. But got to throw some strikes tonight. The balls should be jumping a little bit. It's hot, and for St. Louis and San Francisco, they're both in the same spot in the wild card. They got to win some games down the stretch.
Yeah, it is a crowded area, isn't it? There are 9 teams within a game and a half of the last wild card spot. These 2 teams are 2 of those 9. Here are those dimensions you were talking about. When we walked in, we walked right along that original wall, which was impossible to hit it out, but it didn't really matter at the time when the place was built because home runs weren't cool yet. Babe Ruth hadn't come around. In fact, in the first game in this park's history, the Barons executed 4 consecutive bunts in the 9th inning to win the game, and that's what the people wanted. But as time went on and as Ruth made his impact on the game, they said maybe we should see a few more home runs here.
You know, the other thing that's changed, it was 85 feet from the catcher to the back wall. So imagine the wild pitches and the bases you could go. It made me nervous because I threw a lot of wild pitches early, and that would have been wearing my catcher out.
That was one of Connie Mack's influences as he helped design this ballpark. Connie was a catcher himself, and he thought any way for the catcher to be more involved was a good thing for the games. He said, let's give us a bunch of space. All right, we are all set to go. Brett Wisely climbs in. Andre Pallante out of the stretch comes home, and off we go with ball 1. So the Giants got those 1946 Sea Lions jerseys. They were a Negro League team that played in the very short-lived West Coast Baseball Association. And you hear Sea Lions, and then you see a Cub on the jersey. Well, they inherited those jerseys from a barnstorming team called the San Francisco Cubs. So a nod to that. St. Louis in the old St. Louis Stars uniforms. One of the great early days Negro Leagues teams. They had a bunch of Hall of Famers that played for them, like Cool Papa Bell and Mule Suttles. Two balls and 1 strike. Everybody had a good nickname. I swear, every player you look through in Negro League history, some of the great nicknames. Pallante's 2-1 is very high. Wisely, one of those guys that's gotten an opportunity because of all the injuries the Giants have dealt with, and both these teams dealing with injuries, kept afloat by the middle of the National League and kept afloat by guys like this. Chops this one along first. Pallante is over to get it, and he'll toss over for the first out of the game. Now the umpires are also making history in tonight's game. This is the first all-black umpiring crew in NL-AL history, and wearing a patch that honors the first black umpire, Emmett Ashford, who is known as being an entertainer himself. Folks would buy tickets just to come watch Emmett umpire games. That's C.B. Buckner right there, John. In his 26 years as an umpire, he said this is going to go down as one of the highlights of his career.
Yeah, Major League Baseball really has done this well. And you don't think about how hard it is to break up crews to generate a game like today. They're all part of different crews, and what a great way to honor this ballpark and the umpires that have embarked in Major League Baseball.
Elliot Ramos shoots one foul. Breakout star for the Giants here. This guy, a one-time top prospect, but the shine kind of came off the last couple of years. He too needed an injury to open the door back to the big leagues, but look at the numbers since he came up in early May. And an 0-2 from Palante. Ramos takes it in the dirt.
Talking about Bob Melvin, I mean, injuries are becoming that dirty word, or at least an accepted word in our sport now. And he said, man, you know, nobody feels sorry for you, but he has dealt with so many injuries on this team and this roster that when they got here, one of the players that he was really hoping could play is Lamont Wade. Obviously not able to play because of injury.
Giants had 1 week earlier this year where they had 6 different guys placed on the injured list. For both these teams, it's amazing to look and see that they're still part of the playoff picture. Another 1-2 coming to Ramos. Count evens up. Ramos, 24 years of age, out of Puerto Rico. Mostly a corner outfielder. He's playing center field with Jung-Hoo Lee. Lost for the season with a shoulder injury. Strikes out here. 2 up and 2 down for Palante.
Well, Palante for St. Louis is going to really try his best. Moment in tonight's game is going to be the amount of innings he pitches for his team, because they have been bullpenned out the last 3 games with the Marlins. Of course, that's where they came from. So he needs a strong start for St. Louis just to reset everybody who's been used.
Comes home to Patrick Bailey, misses inside. Yeah, the Cardinals played a 12-inning game 2 days ago, and then yesterday their planned starter Kyle Gibson got scratched right before first pitch, so that became a bullpen game. Not necessarily the guy on paper you want having to lean on. He's not thrown more than 86 pitches in a game as a converted reliever this year. Now one of the top young catchers in the National League here in Bailey. Yeah, they've been searching for years for their next franchise catcher, their next Buster Posey. A lot of people thought they had it in Joey Bart, but confident they may have it here in Bailey.
What an impossible guy to replace, or, you know, retired early. Unbelievable career for the Giants.
Yanks this one right side, and the first base hit of the game comes from Bailey.
You know, we'll talk about it throughout the game. We're going to get some great insight from a lot of people in this game. But I think players, when you look back in your career, there's going to be special moments that you look back and go, I remember when we did this, or where we went, whether it's London or Williamsport. St. Louis has been part of now a bunch of these events, and I think a lot of players will remember playing here at Rickwood more so than any other place they play at. I would wager they would think that.
Yeah, you walk in here, and we were talking about this during the pregame show, but you study it and you gain a greater appreciation, but then you walk in here and you can't help but feel the history.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, Fenway's next as far as the oldest stadium, and it's the same thing there.
Matt Chapman chops the first one that he sees to third base, and yes, that's Brandon Crawford, Giants fans, playing third base for the first time in his career. In Birmingham, Negro League baseball emerged from the steel mills where the city was filled with industrial teams. They became the Birmingham Black Barons. Cardinals coming to bat for the first time today. We'll take a look at their lineup, sponsored by Harbor Freight, and it is the fantastic rookie leading things off in Mason Wynn, and then Alec Burleson and the former MVP Paul Goldschmidt. Gorman, Donovan, and Carpenter through the heart of the lineup. Donovan's an Alabama native with Crawford, Pages, and Ciani finishing things up against San Francisco's Keaton Wynn.
Yeah, Mr. Wynn would like to get in that win column. It's been a while, and a big reason he's had a hard time with the walks, but also that splitter, getting to the splitter. That's his best pitch. He's got to get ahead of hitters to get that splitter in play. Tough to hit.
Comes home to Mason Wynn. Win-win matchup here to get things going. Misses upstairs with the ball, and this guy right here, John, has helped transform these Cardinals. I mean, they were 9 games below 500 in early May. He has taken off, and they have with him.
He's done a great job. Super athletic shortstop, but the bat is what people are talking about, and certainly his ability to get on base changed this whole mindset of this Cardinal offense, who have until this point have not really gotten locked in on the year.
Well, you look at the injuries we were talking about, and then you look at the guys that they normally count on, and Arenado and Goldschmidt not hitting. I mean, Nolan Gorman has not hit. It's been guys like this that you didn't necessarily see coming that have given him some life. 3 balls, 1 strike on Wynn, who just turned 22 years old. Got to the big leagues late last season. It was a humbling first trip up for him. Hit just 172, but he said, kind of from what he learned from that experience, he's had this much better second year. And he's got a walk to open the game. Alec Burleson on your all softball.
Yeah, he's
team,
definitely,
right?
I mean, he's for sure on the all softball team post retirement. He's got the look, the stance, and just feels like he just hits bombs.
Well, he's got 10 of them this year. He's the kind of guy that wherever he's been, he's hit. East Carolina, and then coming up through the minor league system for the Cardinals. Got off to a great start this year. Not quite as good lately. Keaton Wynn comes home, and it's in the dirt. Good pick right there. Now Wynn is hung up. He goes back to first, and he'll get there. Yeah, it looks like Bailey's kicking him a little bit, kicking himself a little bit for going to second instead of first.
There's those splitters missing the zone. What a pickup here by the catcher. And then, of course, he thought he's going. He hesitates. You're right. The back pick would have got him for sure. He was in no man's land.
He goes back to first, and he'll get there. Looks like so Wynn's falling behind both guys now. 2 balls, 1 strike with a check swing down to third. You know, Keaton Wynn had never been to a major league ballpark until he got to the major leagues, and now he's pitching in the oldest park.
It's pretty amazing. You don't have too many of those scenarios play out like that.
That is ripped to deep right field towards the corner and off the base of the wall. Burleson hangs on with a long single, and the Cardinals in business here in the first.
Yeah, and talked about it early. For Wynn, he's got to get ahead in the count, and they've been really taking advantage of him in the last 3 to 4 starts of that not being the case, and he had to come in with a strike, and you saw Burleson pull it down the line. There's a single wall section there, and then from that point towards center field there is a double wall that they're going to have to hit over for a home run. It's unique reconstructions to make it look like it was the old-time fencing.
First and third for Goldschmidt, who takes outside for ball 1. They've threaded the needle, haven't they? Updating it, getting it ready for a major league game, but also keeping the hallmarks.
It's really incredible. I mean, again, there's not too many things in our country that can stand the test of time like this field.
Goldschmidt to short. Now, boy, sunball there for Ahmed, but he was able to make the grab. Then got on him in a hurry.
Slider laced, but you could see right at the last minute there's a little bit of that sun field right at shortstop, and he was able to make the play and keep from this being a really big inning. Glasses on top usually don't work on top of the hat.
Ahmed, a guy they're happy to have back, stabilize that defense a little bit that they invested in a bunch this offseason, but the injuries have hurt that phase greatly. Nolan Gorman swings and misses at a good splitter. This is a guy here, John, when he's right, he can threaten those old walls here at Rickwood.
Yeah, he can. I mean, he's definitely trying to do this, meaning hitting homers first and foremost with every swing. Brings
this ball in the air to center field. It sends Ramos back, edge of the track. Kenny comes up and makes the grab plenty deep enough to bring home the first run of the game. It's a sacrifice fly for Nolan Gorman to make it 1-0 St. Louis. We're touching on some of the renovations they did around this place to get it Major League ready. Kenny, you've got the details.
Well, you guys talked about the distance from home plate to the backstop. Originally 85 feet. Bo Jackson played high school, college, and minor league ball here, and reportedly could score from first base on a pass ball. So how did they get it to regulation? They moved the wall up 10 feet, the plate back 10 feet, and then they had to reorient the field 5 degrees counterclockwise to make everything right. Now you can see those light towers, the original light towers, they're not functional. They're out of code. They removed the bulbs just in case a foul ball went up there and one of the bulbs broke. They removed them, and they installed temporary lighting. And finally, guys, the crown of the field. You could sit in the first base dugout before the renovations, before the facelift, and not see the left fielder except from the chest up. That's how high the field was. So 5,000 tons of material removed to get it to regulation playing surface.
And it literally was just a century of working on the field that led to the crown. Here's a high drive to deep right field, and Brendan Donovan, an Alabama native, crushes a home run. He is the first Alabama player to play in an American League, National League, Major League game here at Rickwood Field. And how about him going deep?
Yeah, again, there will be moments in this game that are moments in regular season games that won't have as big a meaning. I guarantee you, you won't forget that home run here at this field. And for St. Louis, certainly offensively, a little bit more what people thought were going to happen on the year.
And it's Donovan's 7th of the season. 3-0 St. Louis here in the first. And now Matt Carpenter grounds the first pitch that he sees along first to Wilmer Flores. And that'll do it for this first inning. But 3 runs for the Cardinals in this first. The long ball from Donovan. We're off and rolling on this special night from Birmingham. Well, as we celebrate the Negro Leagues tonight, we celebrate Bill Greyson, star pitcher for the Black Barons. One of the guys that took a young Willie Mays under his wing when Willie broke in with the Black Barons in 1948. Then he went on to become the first African-American pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, pitching 3 games for the Cardinals in 1954. 3-0 Cardinals in front here in the second as Michael Conforto takes a strike. And Bill, a legend for more reasons than what he did on the field. He served in combat with the Marines in World War II. Korean War. He's a war hero, and Bill has spent the last 70 or so years as a minister here in Birmingham, still going at the age of 99. So a little tapper in front of the plate. Palante gets Conforto, and Ken Rosenthal has the Reverend Greyson.
Reverend Greyson, that first pitch was outstanding. The ball is going to the Hall of Fame. I was wondering, what kinds of memories are you experiencing being back here at Rickwood Field?
Oh, I have many memories of this place because we were the only team that played here other than the white team. And it was a blessing to have been a part of such an experience that we had here.
Willie Mays was your teammate in 1948. You were his mentor. He was 17 years old.
Yeah.
What could you tell us about Willie when he was that age?
He was a determined young man. He had the gifts, the talent, and he was so sensitive to listening to those who were older than he was. It was a tremendous blessing, and we turned out to be real close, brothers like brothers, and everything worked well with us.
Reverend Greyson, when you guys traveled in the Negro Leagues, people today probably cannot comprehend how difficult it was. What was it like traveling back then in an era of segregation?
Once you make up your mind and you see what's going on, you know you can't change it, so you adapt to it and make the best of it. And that's what we did. We didn't worry too much about segregation, because when we get to the ballpark, we put that uniform on, go out and play, come back, change, go. And that's the way it was with us. We didn't allow segregation to stop us from playing, from using our talents and gifts for what we were there for. And it was a tremendous blessing to have a gift from God that enabled you to be recognized as such.
You were the first black pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. What does it mean to you to be here tonight, seeing the Cardinals play on this field?
Oh, it's a tremendous blessing, and to be here, to see this team play, it's good, because it was not like that when I went to the Cardinals. Eddie Stanky was the manager, and it hadn't developed yet, playing together and being together. But that's the way it was with us. And I was taught from a young age to know who you are, not worry about other people if you can help them. Just remember who you are and try to do the best you could. I had somebody I had to represent. That was my mother. And it was a gift from God for what I was able to do. And I just thank God things worked out as well as it did.
Reverend Greyson, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Did that help any?
It was great. Thank you, sir. Joe, back to you.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. Just beautiful. He mentioned he had the term gift from God several times from there. What a fitting term for him to spit out, because that is exactly what he is.
Amen. He definitely, you talk about impact.
You would have loved him as a pitcher, as I read about him, John. He 1948 in the Negro League pennant race. They go to a 7th game against the Kansas City Monarchs, the big bad Kansas City Monarchs. All the pitchers' arms are sore. He just pitched. His arm's killing him, but he says, I want the ball. And he goes out in Game 7, pitches them to a win. Kansas City papers described Bill Greyson the next day as poison to the Monarchs lineup, as he got him to the last Negro League World Series. Tonight, Chevrolet salutes the Negro Leagues and remembers the great Willie Mays. Chevy is proud to donate to the Say Hey Foundation on behalf of their employees past, present, and future who've been inspired by Willie and the Negro Leagues. You can see their stories at ChevyCares.com. After the game, check out Tubi's curated collection showcasing the history of the Negro League, celebrating legends like Jackie Robinson and the pursuit of equality in sports. Stream it all now for free on Tubi. Brandon Crawford starts this inning for the St. Louis Cardinals, which is a little bit disorienting to say as he faces off with the San Francisco Giants. And as he does it, John, playing third base, Brandon Crawford has played 13,000 innings in the major leagues. This is his first one somewhere other than short.
Yeah, and you know, the team he's playing against, he was incredible at shortstop, being the Giants. Came over to St. Louis to add to their bench, and now he's adding a new position over there, trying to fill in for the injured Nolan Arenado.
Swings and misses. He's behind 0-2. Not only a longtime San Francisco Giant, but a Bay Area native. Grew up a Giants fan, and here he is in 1992 with Willie Mays.
Yeah, this has got to be super special, and at the same time kind of odd, right? I mean, he is meant to be a Giant, played most of his career with the Giants, and now going to try to finish up at least with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Nasty pitch right there, gets him swinging. Keith Wynn has his first strikeout.
The catcher, number 43.
Well, Play Ball is baseball's global youth initiative to highlight the fun and accessible ways to play our great game. To learn more, including how to find a league near you, go to playball.org and follow @PlayBall on X, Facebook, and Instagram. 3-0 St. Louis. Strike one on Pages, who has gotten an opportunity here. Pedro Pages doing the catching today, coming off a huge weekend at Wrigley Field. He, on Friday, first of all, I should mention that his family was waiting for him to come down to Miami, because that's where they make their home now, and that's where the Cardinals were headed. But they said, no, we want to go watch him play at Wrigley. So they fly up to Wrigley Field this weekend. He hits his first career home run on Friday, and then on Sunday hits a 2-run home run, and the Cardinals win the game 2-1 on Father's Day with his dad there watching.
Oh, man. That's a nice script.
Got a lot of those going this week. Oh-2 comes home from Wynn, and he stays alive on that splitter.
Well, for the players, you know, I got to give both teams a lot of credit. They knew this game was coming up, and it does have a little deviation to your schedule. They're doing all the things they could do to replicate big league experience with the clubhouses and the new dugouts. And once they get on the field, it's a baseball game.
Another 0-2 to Pages, misses away. Keaton Wynn, a multi-sport athlete. Willie approved. Star basketball player in high school. He was a state champion track runner as well. Out of tiny Ollie, Iowa. 0 stoplight town. You hear about 1 stoplight towns? He didn't have 1. 0. 200 people in Ollie, Iowa. He went to Pekin Community High School. His campus carved into cornfields. Collection of kids from all the tiny towns across 4 different counties. Yeah, he dominated there in all 3 sports. .26-year-old fires a 2-2, and Pages taps it foul to stay alive. Went to Iowa Western Community College out of there, did Keaton, and then got drafted in the 5th round. But between the pandemic and he underwent Tommy John, he went almost 3 full years without throwing a pitch in a game. Overcame all that to make it to the major leagues last year. Drop it to third. Matt Chapman, low throw, but dug out of there by Flores. Everybody's got 24 on the uniforms. You got 24 on the field. Nods to the Say Hey kid across this place, and people all over the world talking about the impact Willie Mays had on him. How about Barack Obama? He said Willie Mays wasn't just a singular athlete blessed with an unmatched combination of grace, skill, and power. He was a warm and generous person, an inspiration to an entire generation. And he credits Willie Mays, and the inspiration he gave him is a big part of the reason, in his words, a person like me could be president. We continue to remember the Negro Leagues, and we remember Willie Mays, 24, in his home city and his home ballpark. Back after a word from your local Fox station. First inning for the Cardinals. St. Louis ahead 3-0 as we go to the 3rd. And Mike Yastrzemski leads it off for the Giants. 8-9-1 coming up here. There's strike 1.
He's got some pretty good connection to this ballpark.
Yeah,
I believe his dad played here.
His father played here as a minor leaguer in the 1980s. Probably among the current Giants, Yastrzemski might have had one of the closest relationships with Willie, who took a liking to him right away. Contemporaries with Mike's grandpa Carl. And Mike says one of his best memories as a Giant is one of the first times he met Willie. It was right after he got called up and he was playing corner outfield spot. Willie Mays says to him, "You're not a corner outfielder. I see a center fielder. You should be in center field." And he said, "I will never forget those words from him."
You know, I can't speak to, I think I can speak to what the people in the Giants organization and all the players that have gone through with the influence of Willie Mays and how powerful that is. If you're a young player coming through the organization and you just get a glimpse, you get a word, you get a handshake from Willie Mays. We felt the same way in Atlanta with Hank Aaron and the 2 greatest pioneers. You know, we've lost a lot with those 2 passing, but they'll never be forgotten for the impact, obviously on the field, Hall of Famers, but their impact in the organization and forever being linked to one organization like Willie and Hank were respectively.
Tries to lay off a ball in the dirt and does. 24 is the number on his back. It was also the number of all-star games that Willie Mays played in. 12 Gold Gloves, 660 home runs, and you think how many would he hit if he hadn't played his career at Candlestick? The power, the average, he was a .301 lifetime hitter. The speed, he stole more than 300 bases. And Yastrzemski's got a base hit into center field for Willie's old club.
But just to think in this Field. 17 he started.
Let's go down to the field. Ken Rosenthal has Bob Melvin.
Thanks, Joe. Bob, you met with your team before the game. You talked about Willie. What was your message?
Well, you know, we found out it was really late Tuesday night. We had a day game on Wednesday, and then this seemed like the perfect place to talk about him and his legacy, what he's meant to the Bay Area, what he's meant to the baseball world, and that this was the first place he played professional baseball. So it just felt like a good time.
You grew up in the Bay Area idolizing Willie. You get to the Giants in 1986. Your locker is next to his honorary locker, and you spent 3 seasons playing in this ballpark in Double-A with the Tigers. Bob, what has this night been like for you?
Man, it's been surreal, really, since we got here last night. And we also talked a little about once you get here, you're going to realize the magnitude of this game and how much it's more than just a game and probably a signature game in your career. So enjoy it, have fun with it, and go out there and try to play like Willie Mays did.
How does this place compare looks-wise to when you left it?
The field itself pretty similar. I mean, pristine as far as the stands go, and the roof and the scoreboard in the left, the old school field. Put some new locker rooms out, in tents out over the left field fence. That's a little different.
Okay, last question. You played 10 years in the majors. You've managed for 21. Where does this night rank for you in your career?
Right up there. I mean, you get playoffs, World Series win. But this is a signature game in my career. We spoke about that as well as a team, that you're never going to forget this one game. You come in for one particular game, and it's in this venue. You're never going to forget it.
Thank you very much. Joe, back to you.
Kenny, he said, yeah, when he was here as a minor leaguer, yeah, of course he knew that he was in a historic place, but didn't take the time to appreciate it the way that he is as he's coming in here tonight. Ahmed down swinging on a breaking ball for the first out of the third.
Well, not a ton of strikeouts, but you saw that pitch right there go top to bottom of the zone to get a swing and a miss. And so far so good for St. Louis. They need a lot of innings out of their pitcher.
Back to the top of the order, and Brett Wisely grounded out his first time. For so many reasons for Bob Melvin, a special night for him. Kenny mentioned it. Played here as a Tigers farmhand. And then, growing up in the Bay Area, him and his friends used to hang out on the side of the road, knowing the route that Willie would take home, hoping to just catch a glimpse of him, to be able to give him a wave. And sometimes Willie would give him a nod, and it would make their day, make their week, make their year. Catching a glimpse of the Say Hey Kid. People talk about the joy that he played with. They talk about the flair that he played with. What an entertainer it sounds like he was. This ball's flicks into center field and a base hit for Wisely. And that was intentional. From reading back some of the quotes from Willie and the way that he looked at the game, he said, look, people are spending their money to come watch me play. Sometimes I'm going to make easy plays look a little bit hard. Sometimes I'm going to make the hard plays look easy. My hat's going to fly off. I'm going to have fun, and maybe they're going to come back again tomorrow.
Well, I can tell you, when we walked behind this stadium and we got to see the original wall, how could you not love to play center field here? Holy cow, there's so much room, and obviously that was a long time ago, but one of the greatest center fielders of all time, and Willie. And I think if you're an outfielder and you play in this ballpark, you can't help but do exactly what you just said, right? You showcase your talent and give the fans something to wow about.
Some room to roam. Of course, he'd have that when he got to the big leagues at the Polo Grounds. Candlestick Park, that wasn't exactly a bandbox, so room for him to run there as well. His ball's flied the other way by Ramos, carrying pretty well to the wall, and gone! This game is tied as Elliot Ramos sends one the other way in very Willie Mays fashion, smashing a home run to tie it at 3.
Well, I talked about each pitcher hoping they could pitch with the original wall that was here. The ball is definitely flying a little bit, and there's evidence of that. Opposite field, looked like a general fly ball when he first hit it. High breaking ball, and he doesn't. I don't know if he thinks he's got it. Maybe he did, but it just kept going.
He said that's something since he was a little kid he's always been able to do. He doesn't necessarily know what about his mechanics or whatever does it, but he's always been able to go the other way with some pop, and he does so here to tie it. Well, how about that on the night where we honored the greatest center fielder? It's a starting center fielder for the Giants, maybe their best story this year, that homers to tie the game.
No.
2 balls and no strikes. Patrick Bailey singled his first time. Ground zone here to second. Diving attempt by Gorman from a knee, throws late. And that's the 4th base runner of this inning.
Well, this ball, once he started to slide, it scooted away from him, and not so sure there what Goldschmidt was off the bag, but he tries to last ditch it. A good throw might have had him. Hard to make a throw from that position.
Runner at first, one away. Matt Chapman, one of the late signings this spring for the Giants, with a big focus on improving that defense. He's been one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball the last few years. It's been a tough first year, though, kind of a continuation of his last year in Toronto. Got off to a great start last year, got injured in the weight room, and then wasn't really the same. Offensively this year, it's continued. And the defense, normally spectacular. He's already got 10 errors. Last 5 years, he's not had more than 12 in a full year.
And that's the one thing the Giants were hoping when you put together the team in that field with that tough way to hit. They got to defend, and they haven't been really good defensively this year. It's one of the weaknesses so far on the team.
And especially when they have a staff that has so many ground ball pitchers in it. So the offense trying to carry some of the load here. A 3-run home run from Ramos. (2-0) coming home to Chapman. Andre Palante, 25-year-old, in his 3rd year in the majors. Had a good rookie season a couple years ago. He split between the pen and the rotation, and then last year exclusively out of the bullpen, but struggled. Started this year in the pen, had a 6 ERA after a month, so they sent him down to AAA, brought him back up at the end of May, and he's been a lot better as a starter. Let's go with 3-1 that Chapman hits foul.
See what Bob Melvin decides to do here. Start the runner and trust your hitter.
Hey, we're up here. We've got a couple souvenirs waiting for you over there if you want to make the trek.
Well, this is a cool view. Now, we're in some modern stadiums where we're really up there. We feel like we're on the roof, but here it is perfectly situated based on when this was built. Of course, no need for this kind of booth.
From 3-0 to 3-2, and another foul.
It's the first time I've ever walked on the roof of a baseball field.
No doubt. Yeah, we you know, you can have some hot, humid days this time of year. It really has been a perfect day for baseball. It's hot, it's humid, but it's perfect. Chapman really making Palante work. He takes strike 3 to the bottom of the zone there. 2 out. Starting this Sunday, the U.S. competes in the Championship of the Americas right here at home as Christian Pulisic and the U.S. seek their first ever Copa America title. All kicking off with the USA taking on Bolivia. Sunday at 6 on Fox. Tie game, 3rd inning. And Michael Conforto grounded out his first time. Chopper to first. To the bag goes Paul Goldschmidt. We got a special guest for you when we come back. Well, so many Hall of Famers have called Rickwood Field home, have played in this great ballpark, and before he was Mr. October, he was a Birmingham A. Reggie Jackson is with us here in Birmingham tonight as we welcome you back to Rickwood Field in a tie game to the bottom of the third. And Reggie Jackson, it's great to have you here. What a special night this has been, huh?
Yes, it is. Certainly, you know, we get a chance to go back and take a look at the Negro Leagues and what really happened back in the day. Go ahead, catch
This
up.
ball smoked here by Mason Wynn off the wall. He turns the corner, heads to second with a leadoff double.
But you get a chance to honor the Negro Leagues, and then, of course, you know, tragically, and you get a chance to honor Willie Mays and talk about Willie Mays, who maybe was the most gifted player in the history of the game. He was like a Baryshnikov or a Gretzky, if you will, just so talented. He had 6 skills rather than the 5: hit with power, defense, etc., speed. He had baseball instincts as well. So it's a special moment for us to talk about. Maybe the most gifted player ever, and certainly in the conversation when you say greatest player. I always say he's in the last, if it's 100 pages, he's on the last page in the last paragraph, in the last sentence, either or.
Yeah.
Ruth, Aaron, or.
Yeah. Do you recall, do you remember when the first time you saw him play?
That is into left field. Base hit for Burleson. Will stop at third.
I saw Willie Mays play at Shibe Park, which is Conneaut Stadium, which is where the Phillies play. And he'd sit in left field, 50 cents. And I saw Willie play there. And then after the game, we went out and watched the players come out. There weren't any barricades or guards or anything. And people were standing watching Willie get on the bus. And I crawled down between the legs of the people and looked up. I was about 8 or 9 years old and looked up and saw him.
That's pretty.
And that was the first time I saw Willie. Then in spring training in 1968, I was on the A's getting ready to go to the big leagues, and he says, no, it wasn't 68, we moved there, maybe 71 or something, but he said, I heard of a kid named Reggie Jackson. Where is he? Where is Reggie Jackson? I want to meet this kid, Reggie Jackson. And I came out of the, I was in the dugout, and Sal Bando said, Reggie, do Willie. Because I used to run like Mays and do my best to imitate him until the game started. Then I couldn't. But I went down the sidelines. I got up and went out of the dugout. And I went on the outfield grass because he was right near first base. Yeah. And I did a little run like Willie, and he said, hey, that's not too bad, in that really high voice that he had. So you're Reggie Jackson, huh? So I shook his hand, and I was just honored that he wanted to know who I was.
Yeah. How about the All-Star games? We got to share a field with him.
You know, the thing about it is, I remember my first All-Star game in '69. I started the game in center field. McCovey hit 2 bullets over my head. Mays played 9 innings. And after the game, I came out of the game after 2 at-bats, and I went to the National League and I took a box of baseballs, and I went there and got autographs.
So cool. Speaking of All-Star games, I mean, obviously he was in a ton of them, and you were as well, but how about Detroit? Now, I wasn't old enough I saw the replays. That's my hometown. You hit the light tower, and I believe Willie did something in that game too. But
Mays homered, Aaron homered, Bench homered, Killebrew homered.
Wow. I think it's the most Hall of Famers to ever play in an All-Star game.
28 or 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Aaron, I said that, Bench, Harmon Killebrew, myself.
That had to be a good park for you to hit.
Oh, boy, was it. Oh, boy, was it.
That overhang in right field.
Oh, yes. And, you know, when I go to Detroit, or I'm around someone from Detroit, because I've been there to sign autographs or make an appearance, people treat me like I'm one of theirs. Yeah. You hit the home run in Detroit. You hit it at our ballpark. And they take claim to it. So it's a good feeling when I see fans from Detroit. They always mention the home run. So it's a good feeling.
Legend has it you have one of the longest home runs here.
Yes.
Truth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth hit one over the stands here in right field, and I hit one over the railroad tracks as well. And I came back here about 3 years ago when I was doing my documentary.
Yep.
And one of the people that worked still at the stadium was here, and we walked back. I walked back with the kids that worked here, and they pointed out where Ruth hit his, and they said, Reggie, you hit one around here somewhere. I said, well, where Ruth hit his? He said, right here. I said, I hit mine a little bit further.
Norman hits this one pretty far to left center field. It is caught by Ramos, but plenty deep enough to put the Cardinals back in front as Mason Wynn scores his second run of the night.
But, you know, John, I think as you understand, anytime that somebody would compare you to Mariano Rivera or compare you to one of the greats of the past, then certainly you want to tip your cap and smile because you're included in the conversation. You don't need to win the conversation.
Sure.
If you're part of it, you know, it's a nice accomplishment.
Yeah. I've said, and I'm going to forget the year, but I've said to every current player that's in the game today, when you go through Kansas City, you have to go to the Negro League Museum. It's one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I understand we're getting a lot more players to do it than not, and it changed my whole view. And when I was playing, and just seeing that history and just seeing the players, and supposedly, you know, when you go through there.
Here's Donovan hitting one hard again. He's already got a home run in this game, and he hits this one off the tallest part of the wall. Into second with a double. Alabama kid coming home here. He's got 2 extra base hits.
But truly a treat, and life perspective change. And they talk about the players along with Hank Aaron, who might even been better than Hank Aaron at the time, is mind-boggling.
Well, I think that one of the neat things that Major League Baseball has done, I don't know who's responsible for it, you tip your cap to the commissioner of baseball, but they now have included all of the Negro statistics to be included in all of Major League Baseball, and it's really a wonderful thing that I'm enjoying experiencing. I'm so happy that it happened. You take a look at now it's Josh Gibson that got the highest batting average instead of Ty Cobb. Right, get out of the way.
We got a pitching change here. Reggie Jackson, we sure appreciate you joining us and remembering Willie Mays.
My fun. I enjoyed it as well.
Back here in the Magic City, back here at Rickwood Field as we swoop back down in. First pitching change, Randy Rodriguez has replaced Keaton Wynn. He's on there to face Matt Carpenter, who takes inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Rodriguez, 24 years of age, out of the Dominican Republic. He's got nasty stuff, still just trying to put it all together. Here in his first taste of the big leagues, and getting a chance to pitch in this special game. 1 ball, 1 strike on Carpenter.
Well, we thought the ball was going to jump tonight, and it is definitely jumping, and the hitters are having a lot more fun than the pitchers are.
Carpenter couldn't lay off. Ball gets by to that backstop that is still not particularly close, and Burleson comes in to score. Those ones heard, right? 2 outs, wild pitch, 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, the breaking ball is so nasty, and you see the break on it, and it just eats up the catcher. And even though they shored up the distance behind the catcher and home plate, good reaction by the base runner, and an easy score.
It is still, even though they moved it 15 feet closer, the longest distance in baseball to the backstop by a pretty good margin. 2 runs in this inning for the Cardinals to retake the lead. Part of what gives this place life, the stories, the legends, the myths, some of them real, some of them not. Tom Verducci, you've got the details on a few.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, by the way, I'm expensing the $15 cab ride I took to get out here. That's how far I am from home plate. Back in 1948 for the Birmingham Barons, Walt Dropo hit a home run over the 33-foot tall scoreboard and right where X marks the spot. Now, it was the talk of Birmingham the next day. So much so that he won a new suit, 4 steak dinners, 3 chicken dinners, and 2 cans of peaches. Was it the longest home run in the history of Rickwood Field? Well, it depends who you ask. This is a place of history and mythology. There was the home run that Stan Musial hit in the first integrated game ever played here at Rickwood Field, over the right field roof, estimated 484. Reggie Jackson talked about his home run for the Barons in 1967, estimated at 486. And of course, we can't talk about legends without talking about the Babe. This was probably the longest home run ever, if you believe the legend. It traveled 147 miles. Now let me explain. They claim that the Babe hit one over the roof onto a passing train in right field, and the ball did not stop until the train stopped when it reached Atlanta. I'm not sure if I'm buying that, Joe, because those train tracks are about 700 feet from home plate, but I sure love the legend.
Yeah, part of what makes it, part of what makes this place, the stories inside to Wilmer Flores. And to think, man, that ball that Jorge Soler hit to start this inning is just absolutely crushed. And you see where it landed. It hit the wall, and the fence moved in, and where Tom was standing in relation to that. Unreal. Because nobody these days hits more titanic home runs than Jorge Soler. Ground ball left side. There's Crawford. Another look at Soler's double.
Yeah, off the bat, this looked like this was going to be another home run. Already a 5th extra base hit over the first 3+ innings. And oh, so close. That looks like wooden wall. We were out there. It is padded and looks like the original wall. So they did a great job making it look like it's wooden.
What do you think? Could the Babe hit it to the tracks?
I mean, he could have. He very well could have.
Ted Williams once legendarily did the same thing, playing in a minor league game in San Diego. Hit a home run that landed in Los Angeles by the time his train stopped. Pinch hitter headed up there, Austin Slater. Pinch hitting for Mike Yastrzemski.
You wonder if something happened to get a pinch hitter here. Mike, obviously a left-handed batter. This wouldn't be your normal pinch hit scenario, so we hope everything's okay with Mike.
So Slater, who is the longest tenured Giant, climbs in with the Giants down 2. Soler at second and 1 gone.
So much like Reggie was saying, the comparisons are unfair, but you're honored to be in those comparisons. You know, I think of Willie Mays, and 17 years old, competing against Satchel Paige and all the guys that, you know, played in this ballpark. And fair or not, I mean, the only one you could probably compare him to modern day might be Mike Trout, with the power and the speed and kind of the abilities that Mike Trout has had. But Willie Mays stands alone, and his athleticism just so incredible when he played the length of his career.
How do we go to the 4th inning without getting our first Satchel Paige reference?
Yeah. You know, and you and I have been talking about, and we'll get a chance to hear from Bob Kendrick, but the things and the stories that we've learned since kind of diving into this game has been, I'll never forget them. Like, I'll forget a lot of other things that we get a chance to do in a regular season game. But just the Satchel Paige story about facing this 17-year-old that he had no idea who it was, threw him a breaking ball, and he laced it. And the next time up, I believe the story was told, I'm going to throw this. He asked the third baseman, tell me when this kid comes back up, and I'm going to throw him all fastballs.
And he told this young 17-year-old, hey, you got me last time, kid. I'm going to throw you 3 straight fastballs here. And Willie's feeling pretty good about himself at this point. He just doubled against, well, nobody knows who Willie is, just doubled against the pitcher that everybody knows about in Satchel Paige. He said, okay, give me those heaters. Fastball, swing and a miss. Fastball, swing and a miss. Fastball, swing and a miss. And Satchel says, now go sit down, little boy.
This is one of the all-time deliveries.
When it's all said and done, Satchel Paige had pitched in over 2,600 games and thrown 55 no-hitters, and inspired some of the best baseball stories ever told. That's swing and a miss by Nick Ahmed. Got his first chance in the big leagues, did Satch, as they called him, when he was 42 years old. 2 years with the Indians, 3 years with St. Louis with the Browns, who became the Orioles. And then he came back for one last game at the age of 59 and threw 3 scoreless innings for Kansas City.
I'm 57. I can't throw out the first pitch to a game like ceremonially.
Yeah. Legend has it that Satchel Paige was such a control artist. He could throw hard, but he could throw so accurately that he would warm up with sticks of gum being his target. This is bounce back to Belmonte, goes to second, one, going to first, a double play. 5-3 game here at Rickwood Field as we continue to honor Willie Mays in the Negro Leagues. I tell you what, they have made this feel like a throwback Negro Leagues game here in Birmingham. That pregame ceremony had vibes of what you read about those Sunday afternoons here when the Birmingham Black Barons would play their ball games. Folks who come over they'd get out of mass early. The Reverend couldn't go long, and they'd hustle over here in their Sunday best and take in baseball. Bottom of the order for St. Louis here. It's Brandon Crawford to lead things off. Rodriguez stays in. 2 balls and no strikes on Crawford. And Austin Slater, after pinch shooting for Mike Yastrzemski, stays in the game. Season full of injuries for these Giants. Giants fans shudder seeing that move. Kenny, you've got the reason why.
He left with an issue in his side, Joe. We don't know how severe yet. Hopefully not an oblique. That's been an injury that's had an issue for a lot of players this year. And Mike was so looking forward to this game. Remember, his father Michael played in Double-A here for the Birmingham Barons, and his grandfather Carl, Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski, played here as well in spring training in 1971.
All right, so Giants fans hoping like heck that Yastrzemski's okay as they continue to battle in the very crowded National League playoff picture. You know, there are only 4 teams above 500 in the National League, so it's much about these teams kind of keeping their heads above water. That's part of it, but also kind of mediocrity throughout the National League outside of the top couple teams, keeping everybody involved. Crawford takes ball 4, and he's got a leadoff walk. Hey, earlier tonight, the Alabama Air National Guard 187 Fighter Wing Red Tails had 4 F-35 Lightning fighter jets execute the most well-timed flyover I have ever seen.
Yeah, it was we got a front row seat to seeing that on the top of the stadium.
Leadoff man is on. Pedro Pajes is up, takes low from Rodriguez.
Well, when you mentioned the wild card situation, there's going to be some really tough assessment from general managers and teams to try to decide what to do at what time in the trade deadline. Stay put, add, subtract. Because you can over-assess the situation or undervalue your team based on where you are comparatively to all the other teams, which we haven't seen it like this in a long time, this much bunched together. You know, in the American League, it's a bigger disparity games back. The teams are still bunched together, but they're way farther back from the last team that's already in the playoffs. Although Boston's trying to make a claim of, since we were there against the Yankees, that they might be one of those teams that could chase Minnesota down.
They're another one of those teams who's overcome injury after injury. They're playing an unconventional style by today's measure, running like crazy. Swing and a miss from Pajes. You know, 1 gone in this 4th. One thing the Cardinals have going for them is that they've had Contreras out since early May. He'd been their best hitter over the first month. He's going to be back, they think, within the next week. Tommy Edman has not played yet. He had wrist surgery in October. He's started to ramp up his rehab. And then Lars Nootbaar, who's missed a lot of the season, first with a rib injury, then an oblique. They think he's not too far off either. So John Mozeliak in the front office, as they evaluate what they have, they can't really totally do that yet, but are going to be able to for a few weeks stretch there in July. Fingers crossed, fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't be too long for Arenado, because look, the franchise has pinned their hopes on the third base and first base part of their team. And they spent a lot of money, and why not? There's two great players at each position, defensively and offensively, and they're not having typical years. They're hoping they can get closer to those numbers that they end up oohing and ahhing over on the back of the baseball card.
Michael Ciani, St. Louis 9 hitters, chases this one. Sinker moves a mile. It's like a video game pitch. Crawford at first, one away, and 0-2 is a fastball to the outside corner. How about you follow up the two-seamer that moves away with a four-seamer that stays right there at 98?
Yeah, electric arm. You know, they're hoping they could see more of this. When you think about the Giants, they've got a lot of missing in their rotation.
Ken Griffey Jr. hosts the top HBCU players on Friday, July 12th at Globe Life Field at the HBCU Swingman Classic, presented by T-Mobile. For more information and for tickets, go to allstargame.com. Mason Wynn is having himself a good day. Chops the first pitch foul.
Rodriguez is not letting anybody take place. He's not letting his teammates. He's faced 4 batters. Struck out 3. Walked 1. He's hogging it.
All right. That's a wild pitch. Up to second goes Crawford. These two guys have been really good for one another, especially Crawford full win. Crawford being the veteran who is just, you know, never too high, never too low, right down the middle personality-wise. Mason Wynn, a fiery kid. Oliver Marmol says he's got a lot of killer in him, and that means that he handles the struggles, takes them hard, and so Crawford's been really good for him. The Wynn has played there just about every day, but Crawford's been important for his influence off of the field. On this 1-1 pitch, Wynn takes strike 2.
I mean, it would be so completely unfair if he threw that breaking ball right off that same lane right there on the outside. He would have no chance. I mean, the way he throws a baseball and spins it.
No. Yeah, that's what he tried to do. Cutter, though, a little tighter pitch.
Yeah, I would like seeing that breaking ball on that plane. It's just too much pressure to put on a hitter when he's trying to face off at 98, 99. A boring four-seamer that kind of holds its plane the whole time.
Sun coming down here in Birmingham as Crawford gets off of the bag too far, and wisely tags him out. So Brandon Crawford gets picked off second base. We're honoring our past tonight. We're going to go back in time with the way we view the 5th inning. When we come back to Rickwood Field, it's the Giants and the Cardinals on a special night.
The Giants are taking no chances. With the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. There's a long drive, way back in center field, back, home! Willie Mays with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
And so we welcome it back here to 1954 television. 70th anniversary of the catch. 1954 World Series Game 1. That game was tied at 2 in the 8th inning. Cleveland had runners at first and second. Vic Wertz hammers that ball. We talked about how big the Polo Grounds were. The perfect stage for Willie Mays to show his brilliance. Turns around, runs that ball down. He said afterwards he never was concerned whether or not he was going to catch it. He was thinking about the throw. How was I going to get the ball back in? Because the runner at second was Larry Doby, and he could fly. And Willie had taken advantage of deep balls at Polo Grounds before as the base runner, scored from second. So he said from the moment the ball was hit, his thought was, how am I going to get it back in? So you've got the catch, but then you've got the throw. Yeah, that game went into extra innings. The Giants won it in 10 and won the World Series in a sweep.
So I get what we're doing here. This is how the game was shot.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is how it sounded.
Wow.
I mean, they had a little more old-timey voice to it, which I'm not even going to try on national TV right now, but you get the point. Top of the order for the Giants here, and Brett Wisely's going to take a walk to start the inning.
So I'm sure we'll get this answer because I like asking questions to learn something.
I try to give you something every week.
So I want to ask our crew, when did the home shot from center field come into play?
Ooh, that's a good one. Matt Gangle, director, what you got? Yeah, he says, ha, 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 ha. Elliot Ramos takes a strike. Television really becoming mainstream right around the same time as Willie Mays breaking in. That was kind of a perfect timing for him to break in because his brilliance was able to be on display for people to see. It was more than just legend. We have footage of him running that ball down. One of the defining clips of how we remember Willie. One of the defining defensive clips in any clip in baseball history. Do you think they had the split screen in '54? They did. We're told they did.
Okay.
With a dissolve in the middle. This is all authentic. Ramos, big swing for the Giants in this game. Cardinals got 3 in the first. Giants got 3 in the third. And Cardinals got 2 of their own in the bottom of the third. So 5-3 game, top of the 5th.
It would be hard to question the umpire.
That's right. They did not have the strike zones on the screen.
I bet you they wish it was back to this.
Hey, we're told Harry Coyle, legendary director, gets credit for the center field angle. 1950s. Universally known as camera 4. Came the standard balls and strikes angle.
Well, we take for granted how incredibly great it is to watch a baseball game today with all the angles and technology. And I'm sure they viewed this back then as incredible because that's what they knew, right? And if you're just tuning in, you haven't lost your mind.
TV's not broken.
TV's not broken. The antennas, the rabbit ears.
6-4-3 double play. So that was 70 years ago. What's it going to be like 70 years from now? We're going to be like able to be down on the field. Virtual reality.
I don't know, but this
want to go.
This is a 1954 replay. I know that.
Ring him up to wipe the bases clean. 1954, Willie, he was making his name right then because he broke in 1951. Obviously had a wonderful first season, but then he goes away, misses 2 years while he's in the Army. Comes back 1954, wins the MVP, makes that catch, that indelible moment that, again, married with TV emerging, he became a superstar so quickly after coming back from the war.
To me, there's so many things that are great about him. I can't think of a greater thing than what you just said. To miss that time, to come back and have maybe one of his greatest years after not playing, not missing a beat. Man, I just try quitting whatever you do for a living for 2 years and see if coming back you're the same. I don't know.
Patrick Bailey takes ball 3. Or ball 1, beg your pardon. See, I need modern technology to do my job. Ball 1, strike 2. Palante comes home and Bailey takes in the dirt.
As players, we go back and watch games and watch footage and watch video. I can only imagine players trying to watch this inning back if it's an important thing for them. Like, what the heck? What happened?
Yeah, a guy saying, hey, I feel like I really had the movement on my breaking ball I wanted. Can you pull that one up? Come on. Now it's ball 3. 3-2 on Patrick Bailey. And a 5-3 game here in the 5th. Palante kicks and fires, and Bailey grounds it foul.
You know, only one thing I wish the umpires would have brought back: the old-time chest protector, to really give it the flavor. Really put that big old pad in front of them and sat right directly behind the catcher. Now the technology allows them to pick a side, and obviously equipment is different.
This ball's hit hard to right field. Burleson's going back on it in front of the wall. He's got it. And for fans of modern baseball and the way the game looks these days, we got good news for you. We got color back. Yeah, we'll be back to Rickwood after this. Wrigley Field was 1914, 2 years before that. Fenway Park, but 2 years prior to that, Rickwood Field. We mentioned Rick Woodward, who had just purchased the team the year before, immediately went to work planning for a special ballpark, and one of the first things that he did was take the train north to tour the great steel and concrete parks that had just opened, these groundbreaking parks. Mason Wynn chops the first pitch foul. He was up there when the last inning ended, with Brandon Crawford getting picked off. That included a visit to Shibe Park in Philadelphia and a dinner with Connie Mack, and it was that visit that would prove to be instrumental in everything that has followed here at Rickwood. Because the next year, based off that relationship, Connie Mack brought the A's here to Birmingham on the way back from spring training, and that hatched a tradition. Major league teams would come here to Birmingham. It's the perfect place for them on their way back north to start the year to play, and that's how you get, by some measures, and it's hard to find the official count, but upwards of 180 Hall of Famers that have played here at Rickwood. Wynn on this backup breaker sends it in the air to left field. And an easy one for Conforto. So we went back to the 1950s TV style. Let's go back to 1910 when Rickwood Field opened. That was the year that a president threw out a ceremonial first pitch for the first time. Taft threw it out ahead of a Washington Senators game. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz was released. You could have went and watched it for 7 cents. And if you were lucky, you smelled good. 14% of homes had a bathtub at that point. Alec Burleson fouls off the first pitch here. 1910, it was open for the Birmingham Barons, which was a minor league team. It was an all-white minor league team. But Rickwood eventually would open its doors to barnstorming Negro League teams. And great interest around him. Burleson saying he got hit, and he did. I think home plate umpire Alan Porter said, yeah, I agree with you. And he did. He gets first base. But anyways,
right, good thing that happened in this inning.
Yeah.
And not last inning. They wouldn't be able to review
That's
it.
true. We couldn't review. Sorry, guys. No review in the 50s. Anyways, though, 1920, that's a key year because the barnstorming Negro League teams are allowed to come through. But then in 1920, the official start of the Birmingham Black Barons. They were a collection of the best black players from the city's industrial league, and then it was the Black Barons that became the toast of the town. They loved baseball here, but it was those Sunday afternoons when the Negro League team was in town that this place really lit up. And that team was full of stars, full of future Hall of Famers. And one of the things Willie Mays talked about, and I think this is the last gift Willie gave us, he wrote a letter about his thoughts about this game the day before he passed. One of the things he wrote was that tonight needs to be about the other guys. He wants us to remember his teammates. He wants us to remember the Negro League players that came before him. He wants us to know the names George Mule Suttles and Norman Turkey Stearns. He talked about Satchel Paige. You know that name. There's so many guys on those Barons teams that are names that should be celebrated, should be remembered. Base it the other way for Paul Goldschmidt. The Cardinals are at first and second here in the 5th. Some of the Hall of Famers that came through here. Willie the Devil Wells, they called him. You know, Mule Suttles, one of the great power hitters, not just of his day, but all time. He swung a 50-ounce bat. He was said to once hit a ball 600 feet. You mentioned Turkey Stearns. Wasn't quite as big as Suttles was. He was one of his teammates in the 1920s, but had just as much power and had a way to make sure that his bats cooperated. He'd carry him around in a violin case, and he'd get back to his hotel room. Every night he'd talk to his bats. He would praise the ones that had gotten hits. He would scold the ones that had let him down. And often the day after he gave him the scolding, they performed for him. Turkey, because of the way he ran, his arms flapping and his legs flailing. Hall of Famer because of the way he hit. Over a 20-year career that spanned the glory days of the Negro Leagues. Norman Turkey Stearns. Nolan Gorman fouls this pitch off 0-2.
You need to have your head on a swivel in this booth.
Yeah, we're getting a few up here, aren't we?
This is, and you know I'm a little gun shy right now.
I was going to say,
so
speaking of head on a swivel, try that on the golf course, partner. Oh my gosh, did our makeup
is an amazing thing.
That is foul. John took a golf ball to the face yesterday. He's okay, but just what we're talking about. Here's some of those guys, some of the names, some of the legends that came through Birmingham. Mule Suttles and Turkey Stearns. Birmingham Black Barons launched in 1920, joined the Negro National League officially in 1924, and had some star attractions in those guys. Satcher Paige came pitch for him soon after. Gorman's down on strikes, 2 away here in the 5th. Sun is set here in Birmingham, and it looks like it has set on the night for Rodriguez. First man in relief for the Giants. His night is finished, and with runners at first and second and 2 away, we take another break. We got a full moon here in Birmingham. Bottom of the 5th inning, 2 gone. And a pitching change for the Giants. Taylor Rogers is on to pitch. 33-year-old lefty having a good year in his 2nd season with the Giants. On to face Donovan, who punches the first one by the bag foul.
Think about the way the Giants were putting together their roster. A lot of it was going to be in their starting pitcher. Of course, they started and signed Blake Snell. That hasn't worked out yet. He's been riddled with some injury. Webb probably a little subpar, and they've had too many injuries in their rotation.
Just lost Kyle Harrison this week with an ankle injury, waiting on Cobb and Ray. So the Giants, kind of similar to the Cardinals, trying to keep their heads above water while they wait for their bats to come back. Giants trying to do the same while they wait for that pitching staff to get healthy. 0-2 comes home. Donovan reaches out and gets to it, flips it into center field for his 3rd hit of the game. Drives in Burleson, and 3 for 3 for the Alabama native.
How about that? Comes back home. Just reaches out on a breaking ball with 2 strikes and gets rewarded. Wasn't hit hard enough, which allowed the Cardinals to score their 6th run.
Homered in the 1st inning, doubled in the 3rd, and he singled here in the 5th. Pinch hitter goes up there, Jose Fermin, pinch hitting for Matt Carpenter with the left-hander now on the mound. Well, Donovan was born in Germany. His father was stationed there for his post in the Army, so he bounced around growing up, but he settled in Enterprise, Alabama, in the southern part of the state, and then went to South Alabama for school and started there. Having himself a night. Third season in the big leagues, hit 280 as a rookie. He was hitting 285 last year when he injured his elbow midsummer, missed the rest of the year. It's taken him a bit to get going this year, but much better the last few weeks. 1-2 on Fermin. Rogers throws. Fermin pulls his hands back. 2-2. Ground ball to straightaway short. Nick Ahmed gobbles it up and throws Fermin out to finish off the bottom of the 5th. Cardinals add on. They lead 6-3 as we continue to honor the Negro Leagues, honor the Black Barons here in Birmingham at Rickwood Field.
Tonight, we deliver a powerful message as we join our partner Stand Up to Cancer in reaffirming a commitment to the fight against cancer. Major League Baseball, together with our fans, players, coaches, and umpires, are united in our determination to defeat this disease for our friends, our families, and our communities. As we continue to stand in unity and support all those this disease has touched, please welcome Grammy and Golden Globe award-winning artist, Andra Day.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. Move mountains, and I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I will rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again.
Thank you.
Well, we continue to remember Willie Mays, who are always going to make this a celebration of Willie and the Negro Leagues, but especially so with the timing of his passing across baseball. Heavy hearts, but what a special opportunity to remember him tonight. Look at peak Willie Mays from 1954. We were talking about him returning from the war and taking off as one of the greatest the game has ever seen. His peak years, he was averaging 40 home runs a year, and even past the peak years. John, he's 50 years old right here. This is an old-timers day at Shea. 8 years after he played, he makes this catch.
I mean, this guy, I mean, he just has it. That's all you can say. He has it. He has that special it.
So there's that catch. There's the catch that we talked about in the World Series in 1954, and then apparently there's a stat, or there's a catch that he made that didn't get captured on video, but in that first year in the majors in 1951, he couldn't get to a ball. He was hitting Pittsburgh, so he reached out with his bare hand, caught it on a dead sprint with his bare hand. Here's a heck of a throw from right field from Burleson, but in there safely with a leadoff double is Matt Chapman.
Well, here's what I find more amazing as we look at this replay. Right back to Burleson as he throws it to second right on the money. It's like, I think about what if. What if this? What if that? The scouts came out to watch the young Willie Mays, the Dodgers, and they proclaimed, because scouting was so big and so important back then, that he could not hit the breaking ball. So they chose not to sign him. Where when the Giants sent out their scouts, they said, this is the best player we've ever seen. Back up the truck. I think they backed up the truck to the tune of $4,000 signing bonus and $250 a month. I think they made the right choice.
That is a steal of a deal, right? Deal of the century right there. The scout's name was Eddie Montague. Came to Birmingham one Sunday afternoon intending to watch actually a different Black Barons player. But he said his eyes almost popped out of his head watching the greatest young ball player he had ever seen. And as soon as he got approval, he goes over to Willie's aunt's house where Willie was going to be that night because he's thinking, hey, like somebody else is going to offer this guy something fast. There's no way that he's that good of a secret. And he offered him that contract. They did it right there on the spot over dinner. 2-1 on Conforto. A 6-3 game here in the 6th. So he starts in 1951, the year that he breaks in. He starts that year in AAA, tears it up. So the Giants call and say, hey, you're headed up to the big leagues. But Willie doesn't think he's ready at that point. He doesn't want to go. Wants to stay in Minneapolis for a little more seasoning. Leo DeRocher, the manager, gets on the phone with Willie. And he says, okay, you're not ready. What are you hitting? And Willie says, 477. And Leo says, get up here. Well, he arrives and his fears look to be founded. He goes 1 for his first 26 in the big leagues. And Leo finds him at his locker in tears, just bawling his eyes out. And says to him, hey, look, I don't care what you hit. You're here for your defense. You're here to run balls down like we've seen all these clips of. And Willie, after that conversation with Leo, says he relaxes. A month later, his average is up around 300, and the Say Hey kid never has a hard time hitting again. It is 8:24 Central Time here in Birmingham. 24, Willie's Hall of Fame number. 8, the number that he wore as a Black Baron. The clock fixed to 8:24 tonight at Rickwood Field in his honor. Conforto's down on strikes. 1 gone in the 6th. Yeah, to be the only that's always something you want, right? Especially when you look at only player 3,000 hits, 300 average, 300 home runs, 300 stolen bases, and he's the only player to hit a home run in innings 1 through 16. He hit a bunch in the first few innings. The 16th inning, he had 1, and it was a legendary home run. Broke up a 16-inning scoreless pitchers duel between Warren Spahn and Juan Marichal, 1963. Of course, it had to be Willie Mays to break that up. Jorge Soler takes inside ball 1. 21 of his 23 seasons with the Giants, year and a half with the Mets. At the end of his career, the picture-perfect 5-tool player. Picture-perfect, all-around greatness.
I'll tell you what Palante has done so far has just been a blessing to get to the 6th inning. His previous high, 82 pitches. He's going to go by that and give them an opportunity for some kind of length.
2 balls, 1 strike on Soler. Paying homage a little bit to Bill Greyson. We're talking about pitching on very short rest with a sore arm, with his team needing him in the Negro National League Finals. Palante with a season high in pitches. Trying to keep the Cardinals rolling. This is a team that was 9 games below 500 a little more than a month ago. Since then, only the Phillies have a better record in the National League. Charging right back into the picture. Well, the Giants had hovered around 500 pretty much all year. Soler, who smoked a double off the wall his last time. Takes a ball here, and Alan Porter's checking his clicker. Yep, that is ball 4. So first and second with 1 away, and for more on the Say Hey Kid, here's Tom Verducci.
Yeah, there's so many superlatives. I think about right here at Rickwood when Willie was 17. He won a World Series game, Negro League World Series, its last in 1948, with a walk-off single at the age of 17. His last hit in the major leagues was a winning hit in a World Series game, 1973. and his teammate, Mets pitcher Ray Sadecki, had a classic line. He said, "Of course Willie won the game. The game of baseball was invented for Willie Mays."
Great stuff, Tom. Great stuff tonight from Andre Palante. Season-high pitches by a wide margin. Back here in Birmingham, a beautiful Rickwood Field brought back to life. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, Tom Verducci, and Andrew Kittredge on the pitch for St. Louis at strike one on Wilmer Flores. He's on a one-year contract with the Cardinals. He's an all-star a couple years ago in Tampa Bay, but then he underwent Tommy John surgery. Made it back for the final couple months last year. Pitched really well, earned this contract. And he's been one of the trusted arms in what has been the most consistent phase of the Cardinals team, this bullpen. Flores smacks a ball into center field. Ciani lays out but can't get there. Runner heads home and will score without a throw. Chapman in to score on a base hit from Wilmer Flores, and it's 6-4.
Well, two things here. The ball amazingly doesn't get by Ciani, and a good read and a run scored by San Francisco. But this ball could have got by him so easily. He committed to dive, a sinking line drive, and watch this ball right here. He traps it somehow off the ground. Otherwise, that's pretty amazing to get that ball and knock it down and keep only one runner from scoring.
Austin Slater. You're playing in Willie's ballpark. You can leave your feet even if the situation calls for maybe playing it on a hop. All is well that ends well, and it did end okay for Ciani. Slater came on for Yastrzemski, who Kenny reported left with some pain in his side. And walked his first time up. Native of Jacksonville, Florida, Austin Slater. It's got Soler at second, Flores at first. Tying run the board for the Giants.
That slider is the pitch for Kittredge. A lot of swing and miss off that pitch.
Giants are trying to do something they've done all season. That is battle back from behind. 17 comeback wins for this team, including some preposterous ones. They've had 5 times the last month where they've come back from multi-run deficits in the 8th inning or later. They almost did it again yesterday at Wrigley Field. They were down a bunch late, got a grand slam from Soler to cut it to 1, fell a little bit short. Big part of the identity of this team, not just the resiliency dealing with the injuries day to day, but within each day dealing with deficits. First-year manager Bob Melvin, 21 years as a big league skipper, first one in San Francisco. Slater swats a ball to center. Ciani plays this one in a bounce. Soler will head up to third. They go station to station. The Giants have loaded the bases. Well, 6-4 the score. The big swings in this game. A first-inning home run from Brendan Donovan. And then Elliot Ramos, 3-run home run the other way in the third. That tied the game at 3. It is now 6-4. The Giants are threatening with their 9-hitter, Nick Ahmed, coming to the plate. It'd be the icing on the cake if we had some drama late in this game, wouldn't it?
It sure would, and it would be icing on the cake if the game ended on a catch in center field somehow.
Yeah, well, fittingly, it's the center fielder for the Giants, and it's an Alabama native that have the big swings. Nick Ahmed in his first season in San Francisco, known mostly for his glove. It was one of the big reasons they signed him, trying to stabilize that defense. Has actually hit pretty well when he's been on the field this year. Missed a month with a wrist injury. 4-10 in his first few games back. Long-time Arizona Diamondback who had to go through that season last year right after they had cut him loose watching Arizona then go win the pennant. Very hard thing for him to watch. Excited for his team, but bummed that he's there for a decade, goes through the low years, and then isn't part of enjoying getting back.
Yeah, that would be tough. That's certainly not what you want to have happen here at this point in your career. Now with the Giants.
First time in more than a decade somebody other than Brandon Crawford has been the opening day shortstop. Doing it on a minor league contract. Signed the minor league deal, won the job over Marco Luciano. Been a good fit for this Giants team. The Gold Glove defense that he's brought, veteran to pair some of the youth that they have on this team.
Well, he has fought off 2 really nasty sinkers, and wonder if he'll go to that slider after fouling off a sinker away. The slider hasn't been super effective here in this inning, giving a couple on it.
Soler at third, Flores at second, Slater at first. Ahmed reaches out and somehow gets to that ball.
Now, there was a good one. That was the one that usually gets a swing and a miss. It's late, and because he has 2 ways, a sinker coming in and a slider going away, 2 weapons, he's going to need one of them right here with the bases loaded.
Top of the order after Ahmed. Another 1-2 pitch comes home, and he takes this one outside.
Well, we call this the action pitch, especially when the bases are loaded. You really don't want to get to 3 and 2, so you pick out the best pitch you feel that you have in your arsenal, and you throw it right here.
Kittredge to Ahmed with a 2-2. It sinks low, and the count is full. He does get to that full count.
Now on the flip side, a pitcher knows the bases loaded 3-2. The pressure's still on the hitter. If the hitter wants to swing and he's aggressive, you can get away without throwing a strike here and swing and miss outside the zone. But that's the hard part, trying to figure that out.
Tied run in scoring position. Go ahead run at first. The 8th pitch to Nick Ahmed is lifted to left field. Donovan goes back a few steps, now comes forward, makes the catch. Soler heads for the plate, and it's a sacrifice fly. The Giants are within 1.
That was a pretty good at bat for Ahmed. He was in the tough spot with 2 strikes early and fought off a couple good pitches and got that run home from third.
So 6-5 score. Tying run in scoring position still as it goes back to the top of the order and Brett Wisely. Wisely got his shot in the big leagues last year, hit a .175, started this season in AAA up in early May, and he's been one of their best hitters. This guy's the first one that he sees here to left field. Easy play for Donovan, and that's that for the top of the 6th. Couple runs for the Giants in a 1-run game. Or if you're a baseball fan, a must-see stop for you is in Kansas City, the Negro League's Baseball Museum. Yeah, we are joined by an extra special guest. It is Bob Kendrick, who is the president of the museum. And man, this is, I know these last few years have been a special time bringing the Negro Leagues back to life. You called this a monumental night as part of that. Now that it's here, what's it been like?
Oh, it's been surreal. It has been everything that I could have imagined and then more. Just to walk into what I call one of baseball's greatest cathedrals, to walk into this area and see this transformation has been absolutely amazing. And I tip my cap to all my friends over at Major League Baseball, everyone who had a hand in making this happen. I even stopped to tell them that I hope they got a chance to just pause for a minute take a breather and really marvel at what they had accomplished. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you don't ever really enjoy what you've done. And I certainly hope that all of those who worked on this will do just that.
Have you been able to do that? Have you been able to take a step back?
Man, I've been soaking it in. I mean, I've been running. I've been doing a lot of running. I've been running my mouth since I got here on Tuesday.
You're paid to do, Bob. That's all right.
But I've enjoyed every minute of it. You know, like I said, the only damper on this parade would be the passing of Mr. Mays, but you still can't be sad when you say the name Willie Mays.
Yeah.
You just can't be, even though it hurt to lose him. It really did. You know, as I've told some folks, there are some people who just are not supposed to die.
Yeah.
Buck O'Neil was never supposed to die. Willie Mays was never supposed to die, even though you know no one's going to be here forever. But what a tremendous platform to celebrate his life. And in a poetic kind of way, I think he did exactly what he had hoped to do. He brought us all together here at Rickwood Field.
His son Michael was tongue-in-cheek saying he knew what he was doing. He knew what he said. This is a mic drop, him timing it out this way. Dylan Carlson's pinch hitting to open this inning, sending a high drive to left center field. And it is Elliot Ramos. How about Bob? Elliot Ramos, center fielder for the Giants, has a 3-run home run in this game.
That's baseball, man.
Beautiful.
That's baseball. That is the way it was supposed to happen. No one makes these moments like we do in our sport, and I love all the other sports, but they don't compare to the romanticism that is baseball.
I think it's obviously, you know, I have visited the museum. It's one of the most powerful places in the world. When did you get started?
I got started as a volunteer in 1993. Who knew? 31 years ago, John, I walked into a one-room office, wasn't much bigger than this booth. That was the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And as I tell folks to this day, I literally walked into what will become my passion.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the museum, its mission. I fell in love with those athletes who made that story. And it made me feel so, I don't know, the fact that I did not know this history. And I consider myself to be a baseball fan. Quickly realized I didn't know a doggone thing about that history and how it related to the history of this country. And then I just became engrossed in it. I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I didn't want to keep it to myself. I wanted everybody else to feel the same way that I felt. And then I met the legendary Buck O'Neil, and as I tell people all the time, once you're bitten by the Buck bug, it's a wrap, man. You just want to be on Buck's team.
Tell us about Buck, and we're going to spend a few innings together, Bob. You take a look at the watch party going on back to the museum.
There they are at home. What's up, KC?
Yeah, I love it. There's so many names we want to make sure we learn about tonight. Let's start with Buck.
Well, we don't have enough time to tell everything about Buck, but Buck was one of the most amazing human beings to ever walk the face of this earth, who just happened to be a great baseball player. And when I met him, John, for the first time in 1993, as I was getting engaged and involved with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, one of the first things that I asked him, one of the first questions that I posed to him was, Buck, what motivated you to want to build a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum? And his answer was succinct, but also very poignant, so that we would be remembered. He did not want them to be forgotten, not for what they just gave the game of baseball, but more importantly, what they gave this country. And what we're seeing happen recently as it relates to the history of the Negro Leagues, these milestones that are occurring, they are being remembered in ways that maybe even old Buck never thought they would be remembered. And of course, that is the role of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, is to make sure that the legacy of the Negro Leagues plays on long after these ball players are gone. We're losing them at an alarming rate.
One of the things you talked about, and I'm excited to see the future for the museum, is there's going to be some expansion, I hear.
Yeah, as soon as I raise this $25–30 million I got to raise. But now, man, we are excited. You know, again, a museum that started in a one-room office. We moved into our current home in 1997, 10,000 square feet of space, very intimate, very powerful. And now we're looking at a new 30,000+ square foot expansion of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, where we're going to build it right around the corner from where we operate now.
Bob, I'm not even going to give you the option. This man's hanging around. This guy knows more about the Negro Leagues and is going to be the best person to help us celebrate. Elliot Ramos, who has the biggest swing of this game for San Francisco, leads off the 7th and swings away at the first pitch here. Pop flying to right field. Burleson is there for the first out of the 7th. Well, records have been rewritten. Last month, Negro League statistics officially became Major League statistics. Rewriting those record books, and the name that you keep finding Bob Kendrick at the top of the all-time leaderboards is this man here, Josh Gibson.
He was special. He was special, and I've been telling people about Josh for decades, and people are always respectful, but I don't know if they truly believe that he was as great as I would always try to convey to them that he was. He may have been the greatest combination of power and average this game has ever seen. Buck O'Neil would describe him in this fashion, that he had the eyes of Ted Williams and the power of Babe Ruth rolled into one dynamic package. You know, he wasn't just a great power hitter, he was a great hitter with power. And now, as we know, lifetime batting average of 372. And he was doing this as a catcher. You know, to boot, he was doing it as a catcher, the most physically demanding position on the field, and he wasn't a good catcher, he was a great catcher. Rifle arm, he's throwing guys out from the crouch. Back in that era, Buck would say he had complete control of his pitching staff, called a great game, good running catcher. He could steal you 20, 25 bases or more to go with that big bat. And as I tell people, when I say big bat, I mean big bat. 40 ounce, 41 inches, man.
Amazing. And we're going to take a quick break here as we get this pitching change. We want to hear more about Josh and hear more about the other Negro League legends. New pitcher for St. Louis is John King, who's having a fantastic year. Lefty's on to face Patrick Bailey, who grounds the first pitch foul. 6-5 game, Cardinals in front, top of the 7th inning, visiting with Bob Kendrick, talking about Josh Gibson, and just some bookkeeping for you here. Donovan into the game in left field, or at third base, goes from left field to third base, and then Dylan Carlson, after pinch hitting, stays in at left. What else we got to know about Josh Gibson?
He was a gentle giant. He really was. And the power was, it was almost mythical-like, but it was real. You know, he is still believed to be the only man to hit a ball completely out of old Yankee Stadium. Now, Mantle hit one, you may recall, that hit the light stanchion, or it would have gone out. Gibson hit one completely out of Yankee Stadium. But the one that I think never gets really talked about enough, which is a true indication of his power, he hit one in the upper deck of old Yankee Stadium, right field upper deck, one-handed. He was fooled on a changeup, John. Reached out with one hand and hit the ball in the upper deck. And they said as he was running around the bases, he was just giggling to himself because he was that kind of guy that was so strong, Joe. He could poke you in the arm and it would hurt, but he didn't know he was hurting you. Yeah. That was the kind of power that Josh had, man. And to think that we mainstream baseball fans missed him. Yeah.
And one of the great things that's happened lately, you were telling us the other day, kids that play MLB The Show, they don't need to be told about Josh Gibson. No. They know how good he was.
They absolutely know. All week since I've been here, kids have been coming up to me and they want to meet me because they've seen me in the video game telling me stories. That video game has turned me into a household name in the gaming community, man, and I love it because they are getting to learn about the Negro Leagues. But fellas, not only are they learning about them, they are falling in love with the Negro Leagues. I tell this story all the time. I was taking some guys on a tour of the museum. We get out on the field of legends where the life-size statues are, and I'm going through the litany of introductions, and we get to Satchel Paige, who's on the mound. And I'm telling my Satchel Paige stories, and as some folks may have heard, Satchel had names for his pitches. So he didn't have fastball, curveball, changeup, not Satchel. Satchel had what he called his midnight creeper. He had the two-humper. He had the bat dodger. He had the hesitation pitch. He had the long tom, the short tom, the jump ball, the trouble ball, the radio ball, the wobbly ball, the dipsy-do. And he also had a pitch that he famously called his B-ball. And as I would typically do, I would pose to my guests, do you know why he called it the B-ball? And when I raised the question, there was a young white kid, couldn't have been more than 9, 10 years old. He was with his dad. And he looks at me, guys. He sticks out his chest. He raises his hand. He said, Mr. Kendrick, I know why Satchel called it the B-ball. I said, you do? Well, tell the folks why Satchel called it the B-ball. He says, Satchel called it the B-ball because Satchel says, it bees where I want it to be when I want it to be there. And I looked at him, I said, man, you must have been playing the show. And his father says, yes, he's been playing the show, and he's been paying attention to the stories that you're sharing in that video game, MLB The Show. It's another milestone to have the Negro Leagues included in the video game. We debuted this last year. This is the second year. 8 players last year, 10 players by the time it's all said and done. This year, we have a 3-year partnership with Sony PlayStation for the continued inclusion of Negro League players. What a great way for them to be engaged, learn, and entertain at the same time.
You mentioned the kids that play this game, and not only do they learn about the Negro League players, but they begin to love the stories. I found myself feeling the same way this week, Bob, as I dive into these stories. It's like, you know the names. We live in baseball. You know the names, but then you read the stories behind the names. You read the legends, and how can you not love these guys?
And that's what I've always said. What's not to love about the story of the Negro Leagues? It comes from the spirit of, you won't let me play with you in the major leagues. Okay, I'll create my own league. And what a great league they created. It was driven simply by love of the game. Were they able to make a living? Of course. They were making a living, but they were still playing the game that they loved. And quite frankly, with some of the things that they had to deal with as they were traveling the highways and byways of this country, they could have very easily quit and found another job that would have paid comparable without having that kind of strife. But they just love the game. You know, when the baseball gets in your soul, you don't let it go. And that is what this story is all about. And through their eyes, you see how this game changed, but you also see how this country changed.
You know, of all the players and all the names, they're all great. The full circle moment for me is the 99-year-old gentleman by Mr. Greyson.
He's amazing. He is absolutely amazing.
You're not going anywhere, Bob. We can talk about it when we come back. The 2024 MLB All-Star Ballot presented by Build Submarines is now open. Vote daily at MLB.com/vote to get your favorite players to the All-Star game. We got a good one going. Bottom of the 7th inning, 6-5. Cardinals in front. Ryan Walker's on to pitch for the San Francisco Giants, who continue to visit with Bob Kendrick of the Negro League Museum. And going to break, you're talking about Reverend Greyson, who is a special human, isn't he?
He really is. 99 years young, will turn 100 later this year, God willing. And he, in my eyes, epitomizes the kind of athlete that called the Negro Leagues home. He is a war hero. Obviously, he played here in the Negro Leagues with the Birmingham Black Barons, got a cup of coffee with the St. Louis Cardinals, still gets in the pulpit and brings that fire and brimstone on any given Sunday. Just an amazing human being. He nurtured. He took care of a young Willie Mays when Willie came up. He's 17 years old, guys. And he's hanging out with grown men. You know, you got to shield him from some of the things that some grown men will do. And Bill Greyson and others of those older Negro League players, as I mentioned to you guys off air, they shielded Willie from the harshness of Jim Crow because they knew that he would have an opportunity. You saw the potential in him, that there was a real possibility that he could get to the show. And so, contrary to popular belief, they weren't jealous of that young ball player. They may have lamented the fact that integration didn't occur when they were in their prime, but they wanted to see young Willie Mays get to the major leagues. They wanted to see young Henry Aaron, young Ernie Banks get to the major leagues in hopes that others would then get the opportunity. Because, yes, they had built this great league, but in spite of what they had done, the world was still saying the best baseball was being played in the major leagues, and you could make more money if you made it to the major leagues. So, yeah, it created a desire to get there because you wanted to prove that you belong there, and then, again, a better chance for you to help your family by playing this game.
Mason Wynn is down on strikes. I was saying to John earlier that the last gift Willie left us was the statements that he issued earlier this week, and one of the things he said was, it's going to be a special night remembering the Negro Leagues and remembering my teammates on the Black Barons. He wanted to make sure that we knew those names. We've touched on a couple of them. How about some of the other guys? Tell us about Piper Davis.
Piper Davis was an outstanding ball player for the Black Barons. And if you're going to credit someone from a baseball playing standpoint who helped Willie the most, it would have been Piper Davis. You know, Piper Davis taught Willie how to hit the curveball, you know, how to wait on that curveball. And Willie learned how to hit the curveball. He learned how to hit almost every ball, you know, and so Piper Davis was very instrumental, not only in terms of formulating a tremendous career of his own, but certainly helping other young ball players who came and joined the Birmingham Black Barons and was an outstanding player himself.
Willie told the story of, you know, you said this is what made him a man, right? Playing for the Black Barons. One time when big Chet Brewer knocked him down, and, Piper Davis walks up to him and he says, "Not are you okay?" But he says, "Get up, get down to first, and steal second." And that's what he did. He said, "You know what? Piper was right."
And I think for Mr. Mays, having grown up playing here in the Negro Leagues, he knew when he got to the major leagues, he could handle anything. Because if you could handle playing in the Negro Leagues, then you were pretty much prepared for whatever was coming next. And that playing ground prepared him tremendously.
Home plate umpire Alan Porter's out there talking with Brian Walker, who has not yet filled the 3-batter minimum here.
He got hit on that ball up the middle, and just making sure he's okay. Just kind of grazed him.
Piper Davis would be out there saying, "Brush it up, put some dirt on it, right? Let's go."
You know, I don't know why everybody in the country would just say, "Rub some dirt on it," as if that really did make the pain go away. But that's what my folks said to me. "Get up, boy, you all right? Rub some dirt on it."
Right. So 2 gone here in the 7th inning in a 6-5 game with the St. Louis Cardinals ahead of the Giants. And the hitter's Paul Goldschmidt.
No, that's it.
Well, this is a pretty typical game for the Cardinals, by the way. They play more games from 3-run deficit down. They play a lot of close games, and this is another close one.
4 consecutive 1-run games for Oliver Marmole's team. This would be a 5th if it stayed here. Ball and a strike on the former MVP Goldschmidt, who's got some Alabama ties. He played in the Southern League. He's a Mobile Bay Bear. Will play up here in Birmingham against the Barons.
No.
And in Montgomery against the Biscuits, my squad.
Biscuits. Yeah, my good friend Parney and those guys, we're looking forward to doing some things with them relative to Negro Leagues there in Montgomery as well. So.
Played the Barons the other night, right? A couple nights ago.
Yes, it was beautiful. We had a great crowd in for that game as well. And so, you know, again, that's when we learned the news of Mr. Mays' passing. And it was beautiful to see the fans react the way that they did, stood up and applaud a long standing ovation.
We got one more half inning coming with Mr. Kendrick and a tight game here at Rickwood. What a perfect night. Back here at Rickwood Field as we remember Willie Mays, honor the legend, celebrate the Negro Leagues, 24s everywhere. 6-5 ball game to the top of the 8th inning. The game is delivered as well as Jorge Soler takes strike. Adam Kloffenstein making his major league debut. You're pitching at Rickwood Field. About that. Comes home to Soler, who fouls it off. So, you know, for every, say, Roy Campanella, there was a Josh Gibson who didn't get to make it to the major leagues. For every Willie Mays, there was an Oscar Charleston.
There was an Oscar Charleston, one of the first 2 superstars of Rube Foster's newly formed Negro Leagues in 1920. He and Bullet Rogan. Now, there were other stars, but they were superstars. And in 1921, Oscar Charleston had one of the greatest seasons in baseball history. He was playing for the St. Louis Stars. He led the Negro Leagues in home runs, triples, doubles, stolen bases, and batting average in the same season. And I remember when Mr. Mays made his first visit to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Buck O'Neill was there to greet him, as Buck was there to greet everyone when they came to visit the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. We get to go through the turnstiles. He looks in on the field of legends through the chicken wire, And, of course, as any center fielder would do, he looked right at center field.
Yeah.
And he said, well, Buck, who is that? Buck said, Willie, that was you before there ever was a you. Oscar Charleston, and the old timers will say the closest thing to Oscar Charleston would have been Willie Mays, which is absolutely incredible. And, you know, here at Rickwood Field, a young Willie Mays faces Satchel Paige for the very first time. He's 17 years old. He told me this story when I was with him. This was back in 2016. And we're down in the players' garage there at Oracle Park. And they asked the question, said, Willie, did you ever face Satchel? And Willie's feeling good that day. And you know he had a kind of a high-pitched voice. He said, yeah, I faced Satchel. I faced Satchel when I was 17 years old. The first time I faced Satchel, I got a double off of it. Well, Satchel didn't know who this kid was. Threw him a little off-speed something. Young Willie Mays hits it in the gap, gets a double. Well, Satchel steps off the mound. He looks at the third baseman. He says, hey, man, you let me know when he gets back up here. A couple of innings later, here comes young Willie Mays. Third baseman says, hey, Satch, there he is. Satchel looks at Willie. He said, Willie, he said, son, I ain't going to try to trick you. I'm going to throw you 3 fastballs. And even at 17, Mr. Mays is like, you going to throw me 3 fastballs and I know I know they're coming? He said he threw 3 straight right by me. I never saw him. And as on the final pitch, Satchel's halfway between the mound and the batter's box. And Willie said he's turning to go back to the dugout. And he says, Satchel looks at him and says, now go sit down, little boy. And to see Willie Mays simply delighting, remembering being struck out by Satchel Paige, tells you how great Satchel Paige was.
We could do a whole day on Satchel Paige stories, couldn't we?
Very easily. Yeah, very easily.
There's a smash to deep center field, but ball not quite carrying as well. It's hauled in center fielder. I want to play a game here. There's 2 outs in our last inning, but let's play this game. I know you've played this before. You ready?
Yes.
Cool Papa Bell was so fast
that he could get into bed, turn out the light, get in bed, pull up the covers before the light went out. Cool Papa Bell once stole 175 bases in a less than 200 game season. He twice, honest to God's truth, twice scored from first base on a bunt in exhibition games against Major League All-Stars. One of the times, Satchel Paige laid the bunt down. You know, plays like the bunt and run, hit and run, really created, perfected in the Negro League, later picked up by Major League Baseball. They were playing in Mexico. And Cool goes from first to third so fast on a single that the Mexican team stopped the game in protest because they swore he had cut across the diamond. Yeah, no man could get around the bases that fast. And again, how fast was Cool Papa Bell? The legendary Jesse Owens, who at that time was the fastest man in the world, would never race Cool Papa Bell. Flat out refused to race Cool Papa Bell.
And to tie him back into our friend Satch, Satch says at one time he hit a line drive past his ear and Satch turned around to see where the ball went, only to see it hit him in the rear as he slid into second.
He could pick him up and put him down with the best. And he wasn't just a fast guy. Cool Papa Bell might have been the greatest base runner this sport has ever seen. He was a switch hitter, but primarily coming out that left side. And Buck O'Neil would say that he ran so low to the ground that he could literally smack the bag with his hand and not fall over.
That's so good.
That's God-given.
Bob, this has been such a pleasure. You have done so much for this game, for the Negro Leagues. What a special night, and man, I tell you what, we cannot thank you enough for sharing everything.
Thank you very much.
Man, I appreciate everything that my Fox family has done to help make this the event that it has become. We really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Come see Bob at the museum, folks. You will not be disappointed. Test your knowledge about Rickwood Field and the Negro Leagues. To be entered for a chance to win, go to MLB.com/Rickwood Trivia to play. No purchase necessary. Must be 18 years or older to enter. We didn't tell you when we were going to learn tonight there'd be a pop quiz at the end. No. Go on there and see how well you've been listening. The other Rogers throws to the other hand. And from the other place, way down under, Tyler Rogers comes home. Nolan Gorman takes a little bit low, 2-0 here in a 6-5 game in the bottom of the 8th. Gorman's knocked in 2 in this game. Sacrifice flies in the 1st and the 3rd.
Well, since when the Wayback Machine, you don't see a release point like this anymore. Kent Tekulve might be one of the guys that had a release point similar to Rogers. He almost scrapes his knuckles as he's throwing this pitch.
Gorman off balance, pops this ball up on the right side of the diamond. Here comes Wilmer Flores for the first out. Well, we've told you a lot about the history here at Rickwood. One of the ways that it has stayed alive has been thanks to Hollywood. The Cobb biopic in the early 90s, Soul of the Game in 95, and then more recently, the Jackie Robinson movie was shot here. And a lot of improvements that the place underwent to accommodate those movies. I mean, it really is. So Field of Dreams was special, and but that was not real, right? This is made for the movies, but it is also all real. Everything that we're talking about, even as these stories seem like they're straight out of a script. Brendan Donovan, one of the stars of this game. He's got 3 hits. He's a triple shy of the cycle, by the way, as he stands in here. Strike 3, generous outside corner there. 2 gone in the 8th, and down to Tom Verducci.
Well, Joe, as you pointed out, we've seen a Giants center fielder hit a home run and a kid from Alabama get 3 hits in this game here at Rickwood. I look at that scoreboard and I see 6-5. Willie Mays was born on the 6th day of the 5th month.
Stop it. Amazing. Jose Fermin takes strike 1. Willie's saying it's all good, but hold on, the score's backwards. We got to have my Giants ahead. Fermin lays a bunt down, foul.
Well, I know it's not the same, Joe, by any stretch of the imagination, but it would be remiss to not talk about Birmingham and all that goes on here and everything. How about Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Playing baseball, Birmingham Barons, Terry Francona, the manager. I know it wasn't at this ballpark, but.
Strike 3 called over the outside corner to send this game to the 9th inning. 9-1-2 coming up for the Giants on a night where we remember and celebrate the Negro Leagues and the legend Willie Mays. The catch from the center fielder, the famous basket catches, the entertainer of entertainers right there, number 24. Swing back down inside Rickwood Field for the 9th inning in a 1-run game. Yeah, one of the top closers in baseball this year on to try and finish the job for St. Louis. Ryan Helsley comes home to a pinch hitter. Trenton Brooks pinch hitting for Nick Ahmed. And that's ball 1. Helsley, John, blew a save on March 30th. He's 24 for 24 since.
Oh, he's got electric stuff. Dynamic fastball and slider. Disappearing pitch, but it all set up with that fastball. He can throw upwards of 100 miles an hour.
And he's facing a guy here who has made his major league debut just shy of his 29th birthday, Trenton Brooks. 3 for 23 so far in the big leagues. Helsley deals. Brooks watches a breaker miss inside, ball 2. Cardinals got 3 runs in the first inning. Giants tied the game with 3 runs in the 3rd. Cardinals 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 5th. On a 2-1, Brooks takes ball 3, 1-0-2, but just misses. A couple defensive changes. Victor Scott just back to the major leagues today is in left field. Carlson slides over to right. That is a leadoff walk, and the tying run is aboard.
Got to give a shout out to my main man Bruce Fields in Detroit, former Tiger batting crown winner for the Birmingham Barons, 1985. He would be proud of that walk. He never swung at a ball. He did.
Tying run is on. Top of the order is coming up here. Brett Wisely. We're talking about all the close games the Cardinals have been in. They find themselves in another, trying to hang on here, trying to get their 22nd win in their last 35 games. Giants, their story has been coming from behind and winning these tight games. Strike one on Wisely.
Yeah, they almost pulled off a big rally against the Cubs. Scored 4 to pull within 1, but lost the game by 1. Both teams losing their previous series coming into this game. And both teams will be given the day off tomorrow to travel to St. Louis to finish this series in this unique game.
Pinch runner over there, by the way, is Tyler Fitzgerald, who's got good speed. Tries to lay off, but he went around, and it's 1-2. Tying run at first. Go ahead, run at the plate. Top of the 9th inning, and a foul straight back.
That slider cannot live up there. He's really good down in the zone with that slider. He got away with one there. Pitchers know it when they get away with one. That ball is middle. Ball needs to start at the knees and end up in the dirt.
Wisely's got 2 home runs this season. That one is left up, lifted down the line. Carlson is over into the corner. He's got room. And there's the first out. So it's Elliot Ramos to the plate on a night where we honor the greatest Giant center fielder, one of the greatest center fielders, period. It's the current starting center fielder for the Giants that has the biggest swing. The 3-run home run back in the 3rd, his 10th of the year. This guy who hit a .158 his first couple years in the major league, spot duty, back up, and a different guy, and an all-star candidate for the Giants. Tying run at first. Go ahead, run at the plate, and a foul into the glove. 1 ball, 1 strike. Big rip, 1-2.
Now see, based on those last 2 pitches, there really would be no reason to throw anything but this. But in this game of spin and swings and misses, we'll see what they go with. But man, be hard pressed to not throw another fastball right there.
Good lead for Fitzgerald at first. Not going. Swing and a miss. Through the cutter to strike him out. 2 gone.
That's the big difference in how you're judging guys' swings versus what you're getting rewarded for. He went with the power slider to. Now, if you make those pitches, it's not as big of a deal, but you bring in the opportunity to speed the guy's bat up if you leave it over the zone, and still got it done though.
Not out of the woods yet. It's Patrick Bailey. Swings and misses at that high fastball. You can probably live with yourself more if you get beat on that fastball, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you see 2 swings like that, the 3rd one ain't going to be much better. I mean, you're not going to all of a sudden get a guy to change everything to get to that top of the zone fastball.
Bailey's got 3 singles in this game. Swings over the top of the cutter. I mean, when he's making that pitch, good luck. So the whole National League has found out this year. 24 consecutive saves from Ryan Helsley. Now trying to get a save at Rickwood. His 0-2. Patrick Bailey's got a fair amount of pop. He's had some big swings in his young career. A little more than a year in the big leagues for the Giants catcher. On an 0-2, there goes Fitzgerald on a poke foul down the line. Five runs on 10 hits for the Giants. 6 runs on 7 hits for the Cardinals. Elsie tries it again on 0-2. Breaking pitch drops low. The 1-2 is hooked into right field and a base hit. 4th one of the game for Patrick Bailey. Tying run into scoring position. Go ahead run aboard, and the Giants not dead yet.
And this is what I'm talking about right here. This is the kind of pitch where you're lucky it's just a single. See how that ball stays up after fastballs that nobody's touched? And again, he's dynamic. At some point, though, when you've got an electric fastball, you got to trust it in situations that they haven't even put one in play out.
Yeah. Up to Matt Chapman. Big rip and a miss at a first pitch cutter. Chapman looking for one of his first signature moments in a Giants uniform. It's been a challenging first year in San Francisco. Be one of the first for him, but for these Giants, this is more the same, making things interesting late. 2 on, 2 out in the 9th. Down a run. The 0-1. Strike 2 on the outside corner. Back-to-back cutters.
Outside corner.
There's a swing and a miss, and that's the ball game. Cardinals over the Giants 6-5. Stars over the Sea Lions here at Rickwood Field, America's oldest ballpark. What a celebration this was. I mean, the Cardinals win the game, but baseball wins tonight.
Baseball wins. Anyone who's tuned into this game, they win. They've gained a perspective that you and I hopefully will never forget.
Yeah. Well, so many fun stories coming in, and then stories that develop as the game goes on. That guy there, Brendan Donovan from Enterprise, Alabama, has the big swing for the Cardinals as part of a 3-hit game. It's a center fielder for the Giants that has their biggest swing, and the night where we honor Willie Mays. And it's a tight game with some drama late that lives up to all the other things surrounding the night. Donovan is with Tom Verducci.
Thanks, Joe. Brendan Donovan, this was a magical night for all of us. But for you, a kid from Enterprise, Alabama, on a night when we celebrated the life of Alabama-born Willie Mays in the first National League game in Alabama. Welcome to Magic City. What was this night like for you?
What a special night. I mean, this is something that we should celebrate. This right here is pretty amazing. And to do it in Alabama, and I got some friends and family in the stands, I think it's pretty cool. It's like I'm playing summer ball again, right?
Well, I have to ask you, I'm sure you circled this a long time ago, this game. What were your expectations, and what was it like out there?
Yeah, so, I mean, I had heard about this field. I know a lot of my buddies have played here, but I'd never been here myself, so I wasn't sure. They always told me it was a big yard, so I'm glad they brought the fences in just a tick. But, man, I was just looking forward to being around some friends and some family and hopefully getting the dub, and that's what we got tonight.
Thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
All right, Tom. Final score is 6-5. St. Louis over San Francisco. As Major League Baseball comes here to Rickwood Field, and what a beautiful night it's been. We're not finished yet, though. The studio guys out beyond the wall ready to take you through this great night. Man, it started with all the tributes before the game, gave it a whole Sunday afternoon a Rickwood Field vibe to it. The game was excellent, all the visits, we learned so much. Let's continue to learn about the Negro Leagues, about baseball's rich history here at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama.